everybody, and welcome to episode 377 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. We are a podcast for you, no matter where you play Magic the Gathering inside of your own home. Playing it in the living room? Awesome. Playing it in the kitchen? Great. Playing it on the floor of your bathroom? Been there.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on today's show, we couldn't be more ecstatic to bring you the Ikoria Lair of Behemoths pre-release primer with our great friend Judge Rob.
That's right. We are bringing you Judge Rob all the way from his own home where he will also be recording. And yeah, we would not, even in the midst of a pandemic, we would not think of letting you go without your Judge Rob primer for this pre-release or this regular release or this mixture of release events.
This mixed salad of various release events. You're still going to probably have a lot of questions, right? This set is very complicated. And
oh boy.
I think that we're going to maybe have the most questions we've ever had about the way that a certain mechanic works, which is not bestow, but bestows stranger and yeah, even somehow stranger cousin. Somehow
yes,
stranger
exactly.
cousin mutate.
Yeah, when they're at a family gathering together, everyone who used to think that bestow was kind of weird is now just like, never mind, you're normal, but look at this guy.
Isn't that great when you're with your family and you realize, oh, wait, there's somebody here weirder than me? I guess I can't really say that that's great because that has literally never happened. I've always been the weirdest.
I don't think I've ever had that sensation either.
But wouldn't it be great, like hypothetically?
Oh, hypothetically, it would be like a huge relief. You know, okay, but you do know the feeling of when you're at a family gathering and the person who's like most approaching your level of weird isn't there yet, and then they arrive and you're like, oh, thank goodness.
Yes, absolutely.
You're like just like so you're like palpably relieved that you're like, oh, the other person who is as strange as I am is here. And I'm so thankful for it.
Megan,
anyways, so like that.
I got to ask you for a quick self-quarantine coronavirus update because we haven't talked about it on the show for like a couple weeks. So like, how is it going?
Oh boy. I'm really bouncing around between different levels of stir crazy.
Yeah.
I really, really miss going out and doing things. I miss hugs. I would hug a stranger right now, and that's usually not in my repertoire, but I would.
You know, people who are not huggers before this are going to be huggers after this.
Yeah. And you know, I'm bored of all the food that I eat. I mostly eat carrots and hummus now because at least I don't have to cook it. I can just eat it. So,
and Easter
what about
appropriate.
You? Yeah.
Well, yeah, things are going okay over here in quarantine Bartholdi house. I did burn myself pretty bad while cooking the other day, which is, you know, classic quarantine injury. Am I right?
Yeah. You know, I bet someone else $5 that it was a bacon injury.
Megan, you were so close. It was sausage.
I know. I now know the story and I'm so sad. But I will say that the story that you told me did still have bacon in the entire story about the sausage and the burn.
The whole reason that I had the sausages is because I went to pick up bacon.
So I feel like I was like I wasn't 100% correct, but I was on the right track.
Yeah. And like I bought a pound of bacon and I ate it within 2 days. And it's becoming an issue.
I don't want to tell you what to do with your life, but I am a little bit worried about that level of bacon consumption.
Like, I'm pretty sure I ate 4,000 calories yesterday. Fairly certain. Well, you know, that's for future Maria to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? Post-quarantine, figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, we're super excited to have Judge Rob here and to go through Ikoria with you so that wherever you're playing, you feel confident about your plays and you know how to handle any given situation. So yeah, we're going to bring him on in a second. But quickly before we do, it's time to say thank you to everybody who helps keep the show doing what it's doing every single week in, week out. And that is the people who support us as patrons on patreon.com/GLHFmagic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you a million times over. We cannot wait to get into the office and mail all of our new Patreon family members their beautiful Good Luck High Five pins. I have over here the tote bags that we
Oh, yeah.
we gave away back in January, and I have finished sewing and are now just here sadly in my home, waiting for the day that they can be put in the mail over in our office. So yeah, thank you to everybody. It really just does mean the world to us.
And I want to say thank you too, especially to everybody who's remained a patron, who joined for Patreon Pledge Drive month. And like, there's nothing in the rules that says, oh, once you can drop out or whatever right after you become a patron and pay your $5 and then you can get out. We have maintained our level of patronage since Patreon Pledge Drive month, which I think is absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for not just like joining and dropping to get your reward, but continuing to help us in these super tough times and our loss of income because of the cancellation of events. It really, really means a lot. So I just want to say we see you. Yeah,
it means the world to us. Thank you.
And of course, thank you to Card Kingdom, because they are having our back during this tough time as well.
Yes, a wonderful place. And I know that, things out in Washington are still, for the most part, pretty closed down. But once they are opened up again, we highly recommend getting things from Card Kingdom. Just truly, really wonderful, kind, community-oriented people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to put some orders through, you can. They're still like delaying their shipping, but they will get to it as soon as they can. You can head to cardkingdom.com/GLHF. That's our affiliate link. And you can say good luck have a token or good luck have sticker, and they'll add that to your order as soon as they're able to ship things out. But I can't say enough great things about them. They're continuing to support us even while their store is closed down. That is huge. Yes. That is absolutely huge, because not all companies are doing that. And so if you want to support a great place that supports your hobby, Card Kingdom is really the place you should go. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about Ikoria and get ready for the pre-release events coming up this weekend with none other than Good Luck High Five's very own favorite judge, Judge Rob. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here. Excited about Ikoria. Excited about the land of Godzillas.
'Tis indeed the land of Godzillas. And by excited to be here, we obviously all mean in our own homes.
Yes. Welcome to my house. I have pictures on my wall.
Can confirm, everyone. Rob does indeed have pictures on his wall.
Yeah, I panned up to them with my camera.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. So you can see that my original stuff. So yeah. I'm excited about this set, and I'm gonna warn you in advance that it has the single most complicated mechanic ever printed.
No big deal.
I'm not even kidding.
But Rob, what about banding?
So banding does two things. Mutate does, like if I were putting banding in a bullet point format, I could do it in 4 bullet points. Mutate is 25. In the release notes for the set from Wizards, there are 25 bullet points about Mutate, and it misses some things. So be prepared.
All right, strap in, everybody, because we're ready to go.
Related to this,
sorry, go ahead, Rob.
I have a PSA at the start.
Yes,
as I usually do. So my PSA is kind of multi-part. My big top line is: if you need help with something, ask for it. There's no shame in asking for help for something. If you need help in a tournament, call a judge or a store employee or ask for help from a neighboring table. Get help. Stuff's complicated in Magic. Magic is the most complicated rules of any game ever made. If you need help in the real world, ask. You have friends. You have enemies. Sometimes they'll help you just to spite you. It doesn't matter. You're getting help anyways. And so ask for help in Magic, in life. Like, nobody's an island. Nobody's alone. There's the kind of sarcastic phrase, we live in a society. But we do. We live in a society. People are around. You have friends. Nobody lives alone. The fact that we have language tells you, and I can tell you to ask for help, tells you that we should be able to ask for help. So that's my high-level PSA pitch for the pre-release and everything. Everybody does it. There's no shame.
That's a great PSA. And something that I honestly need to remember quite often.
Before we get into starting to review the set with Rob, I just want to say really quick that if you want to see Megan and I playing the set coming up here really quick, on Wednesday, we are going to be part of the early access streamer event. So starting at 10 a.m. Central, you can check out me kicking it off, and then Megan will be coming into the office later. We're disinfecting in between, all that good stuff over on Twitch.tv.
So you can not only watch us play Ikoria, you can also watch what a disinfectant process for an office looks like.
Yeah, it'll be really fun. It'll be really fun.
It'll be so much fun.
Yeah, we're playing over on twitch.tv/GLHF Magic on Wednesday for the early access streamer event. So that'll be really, really cool. And then you can catch us again on Saturday because we will be playing in the Loading Ready Run post pre-release. The first time it's a post pre-release and not a pre-release. We're doing that all digitally as well, playing with members of the Loading Ready Run family. Megan will be playing with Surge and with, who else are you playing with? Blake from Wizards of the Coast, and I'll be playing with Marshall and Kathleen, and we'll be both rounding out that broadcast on Saturday evening, and that's at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. Okay, that's our little PSA for where you can find me and Megan playing the new set coming up here immediately. And now back to your regularly scheduled Rob programming to talk about some returning mechanics.
Infinite rules. So let's start with the easy one, the one that's returned a bunch, everybody's favorite mechanics, Cyclone.
Yes.
It is, though.
Yeah, if you've been playing for more than a couple of years, you've seen Cycling. It is the thing that they keep going back to because it's just a great mechanic. I'm going to use Shark Typhoon from this set as my demonstrative Cycling.
Great.
Because it's great. Blue and 5, it's an enchantment named Shark Typhoon. So I'm going to start with the Cycling component because it's what we care about. Blue 1X Cycling. Blue 1X discard this card, just draw a card. If it's in your hand, you can cycle it. You pay its cycling cost, which in this case is a variable mana cost. You can pay as little as blue and 1 for this to cycle in. And when you do that, you discard it, and then when that ability resolves, you'll draw a card. It's an activated ability, and so people can respond to it. They can plagiarize you so you don't get to draw a card. In Shark Typhoon's case, it has something that they do pretty often, which is stuff that triggers based on cycling. Shark Typhoon, its ability while it's in the battlefield is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. That's a triggered ability based on casting a spell. And just like that, if you cycle it, it is triggered ability based on you cycling it. When you cycle Shark Typhoon, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. Both of these are triggers. Both of these trigger before the thing happens. So when you cycle, you pay the cycling cost, you discard it, it will make the cycling trigger. You will make a shark before you draw a card. So if it's your last card in hand and your opponent has some interaction with your cycling on the stack, you don't get that card before you get to interact. Likewise, your Shark Typhoon that makes a token will make a token before the spell that triggers Shark Typhoon. So if you need your shark for some reason to be able to counter their spell, you won't have that shark.
Good
Gotcha.
to know. I do love this card. We talked about it a little bit on the episode last week, and cannot wait to see it in action.
Yes. As you mentioned, there are probably copyright reasons that it's not a Sharknado.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm going to jump to the cycle of Mythos cards. So there are 5 of these Mythos cards, one for each color, and then it talks about its enemy colors. I'm going to talk about the Mythos of Brokos. It has a mechanic we haven't seen since, I think, original Ravnica block, which is if an off color was spent to cast the spell. So Mythos of Brokos costs green, and 2 generic mana. It's a sorcery, and it says if blue-black was spent to cast the spell, search your library for a card, put that card in your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Then return up to 2 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. All of these say if some mana that isn't in the mana cost was spent to cast the spell. What that means is if, as that generic cost, you spend those 2 colors, you will you'll do the thing that it says. And the spell resolves in order, so with the Mythos here, you will search your library for a card, put it in your graveyard, and then you return up to 2 permanent cards, which might be the card you just fetched.
I hope so.
I wonder.
Well, there's circumstances where it might not be. You might have 2 Snapcaster Mages in your graveyard, and you put a Lightning Bolt in there, and you're like, all right, we're doing it. Who knows? The other thing is that you have to cast Mythos of Brokos for this to be relevant. So if I cast Mythos of Brokos and then use Twin Cast to copy it, the Twin Cast copy, I didn't spend any mana on. And so because I didn't spend mana on the twin cast copy, I won't get the bonus from the if was spent to cast the spell. It copies all the text on Mythos of Brokos, but Mythos of Brokos knows whether or not you actually cast it, or whether or not it was just put on the stack as a copy. So if you, for some reason, you're copying one of these Mythos spells, then you're gonna get just the base effect, which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like a green 2 to return 2 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand is actually quite a good rate. Anyways, like usually these things cost 5. And also, this doesn't exile itself like a lot of things. Like
I gotta say that the templating on this, to me and my eyes/ears, seems bizarre on these Mythos cards. But it almost seems a little incomprehensible. But once you understand it, it seems straightforward.
Once you figure out that it's secretly a gold card, but it's a gold card that isn't always a gold card.
Oh, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, because if you look at it and say this costs green, blue, black. Like you could cast that card, and that card could do all the things that Mythos of Brokos does, right? You just look at it and you go, "Oh, that makes sense." It's like a surface for a thing, you put them in your hand. Okay, cool. And then sometimes you don't have to cast it as a gold card. You can play this in a mono green deck. I'll play this in a mono green limited deck. It's quite fine. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the one mechanic,
the big one,
which is new and which is going to cause every problem in the game of Magic ever to occur.
Pretty much. So Mutate. My example card for this, I've chosen a super cute spider because it's going to be on the screen for like a year. Glowstone Recluse is my demo card for this. Glowstone Recluse is a 2/3 for green and 2 creature spider. Its base abilities are Reach, and whenever this creature mutates, put 2+1/+1 counters on it.
Sick.
And then there's this special weird box that says Mutate, green and 3. Mutate is if you cast a spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own. They mutate into the creature on top plus all abilities from underneath it. Excuse me. That's the reminder text. It seems reasonably straightforward. If you played since the first Theros, this is pretty close to Bestow. Or at least it looks like it. You all remember Bestow?
Oh, yes. We love Bestow.
Yeah, it takes all the complicated parts of Bestow and keeps them, and all the simple parts of Bestow and throws them away.
I love it. Great.
Mutating, it's an alternate way to cast your creature spell. Now we can have creature spells with targets, which is very strange. It's the first time we've ever had creature spells in the stack that target things. So it's an alternate way to cast creatures. It's an alternative cost. If you've seen cards that allow you to do things instead of paying their mana cost, this is the same as that. You choose the mutate cost instead of the normal cost. For the Glowstone Recluse here, you're paying 4 mana instead of 3. And if something tells you to cast something without paying its mana cost, you can't mutate it. Because that is paying an alternative cost of do nothing. So you have the choice between do nothing or pay the mutate cost. And you have to pick one.
Gotcha. And so for instance, if I was playing Fires of Invention, I could not mutate creatures via my Fires of Invention.
Let's confirm Fires of Invention's text, because that's the other thing, is there's a lot of specific wordings on things that are weird.
Fair enough.
Yeah, without paying their mana costs. So you have to choose which alternative cost works for your card. It's either going to be mutate or it's going to be the Fires of Invention cost.
Gotcha.
And so the other thing is other things that increase or decrease the cost will apply. And there's stuff in this set that increase and decrease the cost of your spells. So if something says that creature spells you cast cost 1 mana less, it'll decrease the cost of the mutate spell, regardless of whether or not you're casting it as a normal creature or whether or not you're mutate.
Oh, that's wild. I don't know if I would have thought about that.
Yeah, because it's a creature spell, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little unusual. And so then we start getting into the kind of strange stuff. So you have to target a creature that is owned by the same person who owns the mutate spell. That's very specific. If I control, or if I have a mutate card in my hand, I can target things that I own. If I take control of your creature, I can't mutate onto it because I don't own it. It didn't start the game in my deck.
Yeah, and that would just take mutate and make it extra complicated, and we're not going to deal with that.
Well, no. There's good reasons for doing this, for limiting the stuff you own. Note that this also means that if you somehow can cast your opponent's spells, like say that you have used Hostage Taker to take a mutate creature hostage, you can mutate onto their creatures with their mutate cards, but not onto your creatures.
Wild.
And there are a couple of cards like Robber of the Rich and Standard that lets you play cards from your opponent.
Yeah.
If you take a mutate card from them, you can't mutate onto your stuff with their mutate card.
Okay.
Great. Cool. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Not necessarily what you might think. It gets weirder. If the target goes away, so if I try to mutate this spider onto my egg, then because I for some reason have a golden egg, that's a creature, right? Or there's this new egg, right? I mutate onto it. I target it. In response, you kill my egg. My thing will still resolve. This is how Bestow worked. If your target got removed, Bestow would still resolve, and it resolves as a normal creature. This will do the same thing. It resolves as a normal creature, not mutating the thing. Once you do resolve it, you get to make a choice. You decide whether your creature is a top or whether your creature is a bottom.
There's going to be some flavor fails here, I think.
Yeah.
If your creature is a top, then it gets to keep its power and toughness and name and type and mana cost. We'll talk about mana cost in a minute. It's relevant to our lives.
Okay.
So if it's a bottom, it goes on the bottom of the stack. You can't put it in the middle. Creatures don't get to go in the middle of the stack. They just go on the very bottom. It doesn't matter. Anything that isn't a top, all you get is the abilities off of that card. So if I mutate this spider onto something and I put it on the bottom, then that creature gets reach, and whenever this creature mutates, put 2+1/+1 counters on it. That last ability is relevant because if this was the base creature that was already on the battlefield, or it's getting mutated onto something, that ability will trigger. Because it has that ability after the mutation, as the mutation is resolved, basically. And so Glowstone Recluse, whether or not it's the top creature or the bottom creature, will trigger.
Gotcha.
And so
which is not necessarily intuitive to me, I will say.
Yeah, think about mutate when you're casting it for the mutate cost as being a lot more like a combat trick or a aura.
Okay.
Don't think of it as a creature spell at that point. It's basically an aura that you're tacking on. And so, like, if an aura had, whenever an aura becomes attached to this creature, draw a card. That aura became attached to this creature as it enters the battlefield, it draws a card.
Yeah.
It allows you to basically play a pile of auras in your library without needing to not have creatures, because there are always creatures on their other side. Really similar to the stone. Note, though, that the mutation that's mutating onto your non-human is not entering the battlefield. That thing was already on the battlefield. It stays in the battlefield. It doesn't change. Even if what is on top of it changes, that thing's always been there. It's the same object. Any counters on it stay, and its summoning status for whether or not it can attack is unchanged from what it was.
I like to think about it as like it's physically mutating into another creature. Yep. That's how it worked in my brain for this kind of stuff to make sense. But
it's true even if that creature is the top or if it's the bottom. And so it doesn't matter whether or not it's changing to be named Glowstone Recluse or whether it's keeping its name of, Bear Pup. So the other thing, abilities from Mutate are tacked into the card's text box. For people who are rules geeks, they're getting put in Layer 1, a copyable abilities layer. They're rewriting the layer rules very substantially. It's the biggest layers change in years, and it won't matter for almost anybody. What this means is it's the base characteristics of the creature. Anything that adds or removes abilities will add or remove abilities on top of those abilities. You think that this is something that isn't relevant, except for Mystic Subdual is in this set. Enchanted creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities. And it reminds you, mutating onto the creature won't give it new abilities. It can gain abilities in other ways. Mystic Subdual wipes out every single mutate text box that's on a creature.
Okay.
Good to know.
And it tries to tell you about it. Be aware of it.
Yes.
And the weird things about this, you can also copy a mutated creature and get all of the text boxes together.
Whoa.
So if you clone a mutated creature, you get every single piece of text that's on that creature.
I guess it makes sense from my like little weird brain definition. If it's just one big mutated creature, yeah, I guess you can copy it.
Right. All of my judge chats were angry about this. Well, because historically, this is the first time that ever had a mechanic that does a bunch of stuff in the copyable characters player, except for Morph. So here's the weird thing. I talked about how this is like Bestow. Mm-hmm. It's actually, under the hood, a lot like Morph. Because Morph, when you play something face down, overwrites the abilities of a creature with, I'm a 2/2 with no abilities and no name.
Yeah,
that's
very true.
It's the same card, but it got overwritten by a bunch of blanks and a 2/2.
Yeah. Okay.
This is really close to the same.
Yeah.
It's the same creature. If you turn a Morph face up, it's the same creature, right? If you mutate onto a creature, it's the same creature.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a weird amalgamation of Morph and Bestow, which is not exactly where you want to be for a simple rules thing. Now we're going to talk about some oddball stuff. So if you
now we are, Rob?
Creature,
okay, great.
Yeah. No, all that other stuff was super normal. Very normal, wildly
this
normal.
This is the normal stuff about the ability. So mutating stuff that leaves the zone that it's in. So if I have a mutated creature that is two things mutated together, and you hostage take it, it breaks apart and each part goes into exile separate.
What?
They're separate cards.
Oh boy!
In zones other than the battlefield, they're separated. If you kill a mutated creature that is two creatures, one creature dies, but two cards go to the graveyard for things that care about cards going to the graveyard.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you Aether Gust a mutated creature to the top of my library, then I will choose the player who controls the mutated thing or the player who is having it put in their library, because it could be different players. The player who has the cards going into their library chooses the order. So if you Aether Gust it up, I'll get to pick the order that they go on top of my library, and you don't get to know what the order is. I know the order. I might have 5 things going on top of my library, and I know it, but you don't.
Wow.
Okay.
If it's being tucked into the library, like say by Teferi, who puts it third from the top, they go into the third from the top slot, like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever, in the order of my choice.
Okay.
It's strange.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
About Aether Gust, because Aether Gust says it can go on the top or on the bottom, right? You pick?
Yep.
Can you pick different things for each of the things? Okay, so like Aether Gust, it's like, this is one creature, and you can only pick top or bottom for it, but you can pick the order within that.
Correct.
Okay.
So you can Aether Gust something into my library. It goes into the top slot or the bottom slot, and then breaks apart as it's doing so. Think about it.
Horrifying.
Oh boy.
Tokens. So let's say that you made a dinosaur cat token because it's adorable.
Yeah,
Yes.
And now you want to mutate something onto it. Now you get a choice. You can mutate on top of the dinosaur cat and get the new name, and you can get. But let's say that your thing's like a 1/1. You're mutating a 1/1 onto this dinosaur cat. You don't want to do that. You want the 3/3 power toughness. So you mutate onto the bottom of it. That whatever is on top, whether it's a token or not, determines if the whole object is a token. So you can have that dinosaur cat mutate onto the bottom, and then underneath that and then play another mutate that's like a 5/5 and mutate on top of it. That token will stop being a token when you mutate on top of it.
Oh boy.
That's so weird, but yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Again.
Yep.
So you said if the token is on top and the 1/1, like you mutated a 1/1 underneath it.
Yep, it's still a token.
It's still a token. What happens if that gets bounced to my hand?
Well, the token component vanishes and the non-token component goes to your hand.
Okay, cool. Cool, great, cool.
Yep. So if you're playing Brawl or Commander, and one of the components of a mutated thing is your commander, the whole thing is your commander.
Okay.
Or in Oathbreaker as well. If one of the components of a mutated thing is your commander. The whole thing, no matter where that thing is in the pile, is your commander.
Okay.
So in this set, they made a choice, which is to have an animatable permanent. Something that you can temporarily turn into a creature and then have it stop being a creature. Reptilian Reflection. Have you seen this card?
No, I'm going to look at it right now, though.
Yeah. So Reptilian Reflection is an uncommon. It's red and 2 to cast, enchanted. Whenever you cycle a card, you may have Reptilian Reflection become a 5/4 dinosaur creature with trample and haste, in addition to its other types, until end of turn. This seems fine, right? Like cycle a card, get a 5/4 dinosaur, and then it goes away. And it's trample and haste, so you might be able to make a hasty dinosaur for just 3 mana and a cycle. I like it. I like this card a lot.
Yeah.
Now let's say that you cycle a card, turn it into a 5/4, and then mutate onto it. Because it's not a human, so you can mutate onto it, right?
Yes.
And you choose to have your mutated creature go to the bottom, because it's smaller. At end of turn, it stops being a creature, but it still has the mutated card and the text box of that tacked on this.
Wait, what?
Go on.
Because it has Reptilian Reflection's text box,
Okay.
and it has the text box of your mutate card, right? So it has the Glowstone Recluse's reach. Whenever this creature mutates, put 2+1/+1 counters on it, text. On top of Reptilian Reflection's text. Next turn, you can cycle a card and animate it again.
Okay.
If you mutate the Glowstone Recluse on top of it, it'll be a Glowstone Recluse that is temporarily a 5/4, because it had this ability to change it to a 5/4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's just hope it just never comes up for
follow.
me.
I follow.
No, this is
Okay.
going to come up actually quite a bit.
I
Because
get-
this Reptilian Reflection is a perfectly fine and playable card. And mutating onto it seems like something that you might do later in the game. So if you mutate onto it, say you mutate Glowstone Recluse under Reptilian Reflection, and choose the front to be Glowstone Recluse, it'll stay a creature all the time. Then later when you cycle a card, you may choose to have it gain Trample, Haste, and become a 5/4, which overwrites the 5/4 in the lower right-hand corner of the card. So that Glowstone Recluse that was a 2/3 turns into a 5.
All
And
right.
still has reach, and whenever this creature mutates, put 2+1/+1 counters on.
Great.
If you chose to put Glowstone Recluse on the bottom, you'd put 2 counters on the Reptilian Reflection. It would stop being a creature at end of turn, still have 2 counters, and still have the Recluse's abilities. So next turn you cycle, it'll turn into a 5/4 with 2 counters on it, which will make it a 7/6.
Oh, dang.
This is 2 uncommons that seem perfectly playable in the same set.
Yes. Absolutely.
Now, in the Commander product, there's something with a Power Toughness star. So like a Tarmogoyf, right? We all know Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
It has Power Toughness equal to the types of cards in graveyards. So if you mutate out of Tarmogoyf, because Tarmogoyf's not a human, you can mutate out of that thing. No matter which side you choose, Tarmogoyf is going to overwrite the Power and Toughness with the star +1 effect. Because it keeps the abilities. And Tarmogoyf's ability changes whatever Power Toughness is in the lower right-hand corner to its text box.
Oh, wow.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah? So there's
Okay.
some gods in Standard, right? Mm-hmm. And some of them are really good. Klothys is amazing. Heliod's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could play these gods. So you have a god, like say, Klothys. Klothys is currently animated because you have exactly 7 devotion to green-red, right?
Yeah.
You play a mutate that doesn't have green or red in its cost, like a blue mutate card. And you choose that to be any part of Klothys, in front or in back. It doesn't matter. Well, sorry. If it's in back, Klothys stays with its own mana cost, right? If you put it in front, though, the new card will take over being in front. What that means is that it wipes out Klothys' mana cost and replaces it with its mana cost, which brings your devotion down to 5.
Yep.
What types is this permanent?
Oh, wow.
I was told there would be no math, Rob.
Okay,
Well,
wait.
there's so you have that.
It
You
is-
had exactly 7, and you go to 6. Glowstone Recluse takes over for Klothys, and now
Yeah.
you go to 6 green-red devotion. So you have a Glowstone Recluse with the Klothys ability on.
Yes. It is a 2, 3. I don't.
It is
So,
absolutely
the
nothing.
ability from Klothys says, as long as your devotion to red and green is less than 7, Klothys isn't a creature.
Yes. And so it is not a creature right now.
It's not a
Right?
creature.
I agree.
It's not a creature spider.
Correct. Oh, no. It's not a spider anymore either.
Okay.
If you get enough devotion, it'll turn into a spider.
Okay. So it's just
But
an
it can't be a
enchantment.
spider if it's not a creature. No,
Oh.
it's not an enchantment. Why would it be an enchantment? You overwrote enchantment. You overwrote legendary, too.
It's
It's
just
a nothing.
It's just a thing?
Yep, it's a typeless permanent.
Great.
Good.
Uh,
Great.
This is something that is going to confuse the hell out of people on Magic Online and Arena. because they will do this, not realize it brings their devotion down because it overwrites the mana cost, and then it blows away the type line. And they'll be like, what? But it has a bunch of abilities. How do I destroy it? Like, I can't murder it. It's not a creature. Yep, I agree. You can't disenchant it because it's not an enchantment. You need to destroy target permanent.
Oh boy,
because it's still a permanent. It
yes.
just has no types.
It's
but
just
also
like
it's indestructible.
A nothing permanent.
Yeah. So exile target permanent. Good luck.
Great.
There's also some. I want to wait for the comp rules on mutate plus morph, because if you mutate on morph things, which are indeed not humans, I don't think the result is what I think it's going to be. So I'm waiting for the comp rules on this. If it comes up, ask. Mutating onto morph things is weird. It doesn't we just went through a bunch of unusual results. I could talk for another several minutes on morph, and I don't think we need to. But because it's not in standard right now, and it's not meaningfully playable in other non-commander, non-Oathbreaker formats. I do want to mention though. So you know Sarkhan the Masterless?
Yeah.
Yes.
He can turn all your planeswalkers into dragons.
Yes.
Dragons aren't humans. You can mutate a planeswalker.
Oh boy.
So you get to pick what's in front or what's in back. If you pick the creature that's in front, it is no longer a planeswalker, but it has a bunch of loyalty abilities.
Can you activate
You can happily
them?
activate those. Yeah, you can activate those. You can't attack. Your opponent can't attack it anymore because it's not a planeswalker.
Oh my goodness.
If you go the other way and you put the planeswalker in front, then it just gets some random creature abilities. You probably don't want to do that.
Wow. Now I want to do that because that sounds great.
That sounds like a party.
Yeah, no. And you're like, Sarkhan turns into a dragon. It's going to mutate into Godzilla past the turn. They're like, what do you get out of this? You'd be like, Godzilla with like loyalty abilities. Be like,
you know what, Rob? That is exactly what you would do.
That's what I want.
No.
That's what I want. I want a Godzilla with loyalty abilities.
Yeah, exactly that. Basically, you can do this with Sarkhans, and there's one Planeswalker deck Gideon that doesn't turn into a human for some unknown reason. There's one Gideon. Every other Gideon chains into a human soldier, so you can't mutate him. But like one terrible Planeswalker deck and two Sarkhans will animate themselves easily.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Great.
They had 25 bullet points. I had 14, I think. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow. I mean, just
17.
Sorry. Take
Kudos,
a moment
Rob.
to like.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of nonsense with this. Like, they did a lot of rework of the layer system, and our next thing is going to also talk about reworking the layer system. But mostly, Mutate is going to behave intuitively. You're just going to jam two creatures together. It's going to do exactly what you think it does. I can't recommend enough the Ikoria release notes, the Ikorian Commander release notes. It has all of this spelled out really clearly. The group that does this did a fantastic job putting it together, and I cribbed from it really, really heavily. So we should link that in the show notes on YouTube.
You got it.
All right.
That is, I'm going to send that to you in chat, so make sure that we have it.
So I guess like for me, the biggest change basically from Bestow, aside from the things you mentioned, is you are going to get kind of 2-for-1 with removal, where Bestow that did not happen.
Yep. But almost every mutate thing has a trigger that gives you some fraction of a card of value.
Right.
So when you look at like the spider, you basically get to put 2 counters on it with haste when you're looking at Glowstone Recluse. And so you get to mutate onto a thing, give it 2 counters, crash for some damage, and then they might get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's generally kind of fine. Like 4 mana to put 2 counters on a creature isn't great, but it isn't like I won't lose the game for doing it. So
yeah.
I mean, sometimes I will, but the default isn't lose the game for it.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about the other new mechanic that we have with Ikoria, which is also kind of wild: keyword counters.
Yeah. Keyword counters. So let's talk about Crystalline Giant, because he's got all of them. So Crystalline Giant is a 3/3 for 3 generic mana, and he says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose a kind of counter at random that Crystalline Giant doesn't have on it from among Flying, first strike, death touch, hexproof, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, vigilance, and +1/+1. That's 10. You can roll a d10 for this. It's nice. And then you put a counter of that kind in Crystalline Giant. Those counters do what they say. If it gets a flying counter, it is flying. If you give it a hexproof counter, it is hexproof. And so you can put counters on things to give it these abilities. It does mostly what you would think. And it basically behaves the same as this creature gets trampled. Or creatures you control get trampled. Let's talk, though, about that Mystic Subdual card that we talked about before. Blue 1 or a flash enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities. So you have Crystalline Giant out. You go to your combat. He triggers. He puts a counter. He gets flying, and I'm like, well, I can't block that guy. I'm going to Mystic Subdual. That flying counter came out before the Mystic Subdual, so Mystic Subdual makes it lose flying. Counters can now have timestamps.
Whoa!
It's the timestamp that the last counter of that type was at. So if he has a flying counter that was added before Mystic Subdual, he'll lose flying from Mystic Subdual. If he has a counter that came after Mystic Subdual, so the next turn you go to your combat and you roll hexproof, he'll have hexproof, but he wanted flying because flying came before Mystic Subdual, hexproof came after.
Okay.
So always choose hexproof.
Yeah. Well, you don't choose. He's random. And there's only a couple of hexproof counters in the set.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Choose at random is kind of a weird way to put it.
Yeah. The reason that it's done that way is I'm going to confirm in his release notes quick because I didn't glance at that.
I would just say something like, put a counter at random.
Yeah.
Put 10 Bs.
Crystalline Giant does it. Yeah. Crystalline Giant does his thing while it's resolving. And so you make a random choice, and it's while it's resolving, and so your opponents don't get to respond to it in the middle of the
I feel like we're really having a syntax discussion here, random choice. To me, it just makes zero sense. But okay.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, but it should say put a counter of a random type that he doesn't already have. But they decided this template was for some reason clear enough for them. So if you add a flying counter to him, then Mystic Subdual him. He doesn't have flying. If you add another flying counter later, he'll have flying.
Yeah.
Whatever the last the last counter of that type that was added, that determines the timestamp for all counters of that type. So all the flying counters technically move up to the latest flying counter timestamp. It mostly doesn't matter because all of the abilities that can have counters are abilities where if you have multiple instances, they're redundant.
I got to tell you, Rob, that makes more sense to me than any other way that it would have been done.
Yep. Again, my judge chat was like, "What? Counters of timestamp seems aggravating." I actually have a philosophical problem with counters having timestamps because they're not physical objects, and so it's especially the way that people represent things in games of Magic. Did the penny come before the nickel?
Yeah.
It mostly doesn't matter, but it matters for cards like Mystic Subdual, which is in the same set as all of these. And so you have to track whether or not the penny went on before the aura went on.
Okay.
Because the penny means flying. This is how Magic players play.
Yeah.
Or a scrap of paper that, doesn't have any words written on it. It's just a scrap of paper.
Classic Magic player.
I would suggest having some way to mark anything. One really kind of clever way to do it is that you can bring a dry erase marker and just write directly on your sleeves.
Woo!
If you're playing in paper.
Hot tip.
Yep. Dry erase markers will write on sleeves and then wipe them off before you shuffle because then if you don't, it'll get all over your sleeves.
Yes, great
because
point.
It'll get on the back of other things. But you can totally make notes on your cards with dry erase markers and then wipe them off, as long as you're careful about making sure to wipe them fully before you put it back in.
Nice.
That's a way to do it without needing a lot of overhead. Or use the counters that are going to come in booster packs. They have counter sheets that are coming. They look sweet. So that should be pretty fine.
And guess what, everybody? We're
Yeah.
not done with these new mechanics yet.
No. We have two new mechanics on top of this.
Oh, boy.
Companion. Companion is... It actually also might be in the top 10 or 15 most complicated mechanics of all time. It's totally different. It is a mechanic that adds a deck building restriction. So, Companion, let's talk about Garuda, Doom of Deaths. So, Garuda costs Dimir 4. That's hybrid blue-black, and 4. Legendary creature, Demon Kraken. It's a 6/6. Companion. Your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana costs. And then it has a reminder. If this card is your chosen companion, you may cast it once from outside the game. How Companion works is before you start the game, before you even shuffle your library, you pull out your companion and you reveal it. It had to start from an outside the game space, so not in your deck. If you're in a competitive format, it will start in your sideboard. So it takes up one of your sideboard slots. And this causes a deck building restriction to apply to your library. If you want to be able to use this companion, if you want to use Garuda, you need all of your non-lands to have even converted mana costs. One thing about Garuda, there's also an odd converted mana cost one, which is an easier card, because Garuda has the special magic rule of 0 is even. 0 isn't even, don't at me. But Magic considers 0 to be even.
Mathematicians everywhere are enraged.
Yeah, 0 is neither even nor odd, but Magic considers it even. Fine, as long as it's consistent. That's the way that it works. So, Garuda, Doom of Depths, limits you to playing only even things. Garuda also has another ability. All of these things do something related to their companion ability. So you can put them in your library. You can draft Garuda. It's easy to cast, and you might play it because when it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and then you put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So if you mill a 4-cost creature with Garuda from your opponent's library, you get to put the 4 on the battlefield. And so if you are drafting, you might first pick this, try to draft an even library, fail. You don't have enough even cards to make your deck work. That's fine, because in your library it still rewards you for having a bunch of even cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Limited, these actually all look really sweet. I would definitely play this. So let's talk about some of the stuff. People have been very concerned about this. Because they're like, well, what if my opponent has a converted mana cost 1 card in their Garuda deck? I'll be like, and? They go, but they got an advantage from having it in there. I go, no. Did they cast it? Well, no, I would have called them out. I want to check if their library is all evens. Be like, do you check if their library matches the 4 of limit?
Yeah.
Like every game? And that's a less restrictive restriction that's easier to cheat. 5 Llanowar Elves and Pioneer? I'd play that. It seems great. My opponents will never catch me. Right? That's why we have deck checks. Because the 5 of a 4 of is very difficult to catch. Like, you have to be looking through the library and then count the number of copies of a thing.
Yeah.
I've definitely had people get to a later round where their opponents had to have searched their library at some point with, like, they had 5 copies of a card in their library. They didn't know. They were playing 61. They just had an extra copy of it because they grabbed an extra copy out of their box. And this is much more restrictive. Like, you will catch them immediately. The first thing that breaks this rule, you'll catch. And they're really restrictive on what they do. They had an extra deck building restriction, but it's a really restrictive deck building restriction. And so you'll immediately catch, do you have an odd card? Did you cast a second thing with the same name? Et cetera, et cetera. And they have to reveal and show you up front. Let's talk about specific ones, because there's some specific ones that do weird things. And specifically Commander or Brawl. In Commander or Brawl, your commander is still in your library when you do the companion show. This locks out certain companions. Certain companions just can't be used because there's nothing that matches their restrictions. So you just don't get to use them. Or it really messes up the ability for you to do some of the things. Lutri the Spell Chaser, the adorable elemental otter, is banned.
So cute.
Yeah,
Cute.
super
So
adorable.
banned.
Yeah, you cannot play it in your library at all in Commander or Brawl. They don't make a restriction on can't be a companion, can't be a commander. No, you just can't play it.
They're just like, good day.
Yep. And they to everybody's credit for trying to be really upfront with it. Like, the day that these were announced, they announced it with Lutri the Spell Chaser and said, this card is banned. Don't go out and buy them. Every announcement that had Lutri in it was like, this card is also banned. It doesn't have a restriction in Commander. Its restriction is you are playing Commander. So they just banned it.
Yeah.
In both Commander and Brawl. Brawl's banned and restricted announcement came out today, but they told us in advance when they announced the card. Yeah, when we make our banned and restricted announcement next week, this card's going to be banned. It's really obvious. Oathbreaker, if you are like me and love Oathbreaker, the Oathbreaker Rules Committee actually just said these cards don't work. Because they start in the outside the game, not a zone, or like how wishes wish for things outside the game, and wishes don't work at all in Commander or Oathbreaker. The reason that this is being allowed in Commander is basically Sheldon said, this sounds fun. The rules don't actually support it very well. So Oathbreaker just said, well, these don't work at all. The rules don't actually support it, so you can't play them in Oathbreaker. And they might change their mind on that later.
Yeah.
That's my rundown of companion stuff. Flavor names. So, you flavor text that just tells you some story about the card down in the text box. Now you can have that in your name, too. You like flavor everywhere? You can have it everywhere. So they wanted this set to be Godzilla themed, but they didn't want to actually introduce Godzilla cards into the Magic universe, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And so they have these special second names that don't mean anything. So let's look at Vadrock, Apex of Thunder, also known as Rodon, Titan of Winged Fury. Costs white, red, blue. It's a 3/3 legendary creature, elemental, dinosaur, cat. Also, it looks like a dragon, but it's a cat. He's a cat inside.
We're all
Rodon,
cats
Titan
inside.
Yeah. Vadrock, Apex of Thunder is the real name everywhere. If you look it up on Gatherer, if you look at the cards in your library, you can play Vadrock, Apex of Thunder ×4 and then 0 copies of the one that has the special bigger name, Rodon, Titan of Winged Fury. Vadrock is the name anywhere. You name a card, you're naming Vadrock. If you're looking at your deck list, it's Vadrock. The Rodon, Titan of Winged Fury is a flavor name. It doesn't mean anything in terms of rules. It's just cool. That it can be named Rodon, that it can be named, Crystal Godzilla or Baby Godzilla. Their names are just there to make them have cooler names, even though they already have cool legendary names for the most part.
Yeah. That is a great way to think about it. Thank you for saying that, Rob. Flavor names.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thumbs up.
And I think it's great. I'm really a fan of the flavor names. I'm really a fan of being able to play with Godzilla. There's one that doesn't have a not flavor named version. So the Godzilla card, the Godzilla box topper card, is I'll mention him during single card notes as well, because he's got some weird stuff going on that is not obvious. But he does not have a version without the flavor name.
Gotcha.
There's also going to be a very rare one that people should be aware of. The Godzilla Death Corona that they are printing just in the first run of Ikoria and not printing with that name online. If you run across one, they won't be in the second Ikoria printing. They decided it was in bad taste, but they penciled it down on this 6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
There was no way for them to know. So they're trying their best to just say, hey, we didn't intend this. We're not going to make more of it. We don't want to profit off this. Sorry.
Our bad.
Yeah, they're like, we didn't know.
Literally no way we could have known.
Yeah. Well, it's specifically because Godzilla has the Corona beam.
Yeah, it's like a real power.
It's a real Godzilla flavor thing. It's a thing from his history that he's had, and kind of just.
It's a real bad beats.
It might teach them not to use real words in card names for a while, which is a bad lesson to take away. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's my new mechanic stuff. We are currently 45 minutes in.
Oh my gosh.
Kids!
All right. We've got some individual card notes as well because, just going through all the new and returning mechanics wasn't complicated enough. Let's go, Rob.
So Brokos, Apex of Forever. The thing that we care about. You may cast Brokos, Apex of Forever from your graveyard using its mutate ability. If you don't control any non-human creatures, you can't do this.
Makes sense.
He has to have a target for his mutate. You can't just try to target nothing and then have him fall onto the battlefield as a regular creature. No, that's not how Brokos does. Brokos has to have a friend.
That's not how Brokos do.
Yeah. Fiend Artisan. Fiend Artisan's ability that we care about is Golgari Hybrid, Black-Green Hybrid, and X, tap, and sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. I mentioned Mutate's an alternative cost to cast the spell. If you put a Mutate card directly out, like with Fiend Artisan, you can't mutate it. It just comes out as its creature side all the time.
Makes sense.
And that applies to a bunch of things randomly in this set. Luminous Brood Moth. I've seen this in a bunch of places. It has the ability, whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner control with the flying counter on. So it looks like it just reanimates your things as kind of like ghosts that are the same, but they fly with a counter. If something can't have a counter put on it, or you remove the flying counter somehow, you get to do it again. So, like, Solemnity says that counters can't be placed on permanents. Non-planeswalker permanents. So there's infinite combos of Luminous Brood Moth. These exist. Don't necessarily be surprised if your opponent just like is just like, all right, I'm gonna cast this Kroxa 6 times, and you're just like, what? Or I'm gonna bring this Kroxa back, and then he's gonna come back like 6 times and then kill you. And you're like, oh, that was fun. I mentioned that Godzilla King of Monsters card that's a box topper.
Mm-hmm.
Zilortha Strength Incarnate is its real name. There's no card with just the word Zilortha Strength Incarnate. They all have the Godzilla art. He has the ability, lethal damage dealt to creatures you control is determined by their power rather than their toughness.
What does that mean?
So, power is the front half, right?
Yes.
The first number. So he's a 7/3. And
so Judge Rob, I would argue that the toughness is a creature's most exciting ability, but anyways.
That's true,
Oh,
but
good
power
grief.
makes them powerful, like Godzilla. So Godzilla here, if you mark 3 damage on him, doesn't die. He has 3 toughness, but he just does not care about that number fundamentally. And so you might ask, why doesn't he have 0 toughness, just to be funny? Well, things that have 0 toughness, like you put -1/-1 counters on them, will still die from having 0 toughness. Having 0 power doesn't kill you. So if you have a 0/15 wall with Godzilla King of the Monsters in the battlefield under your control, it doesn't die because it has 15 toughness. As soon as you mark any damage on it, it dies.
Yes.
So if you ping it for 1, that 0/15, gone.
It just rolls. It's like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I
It's
did
like,
it.
whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa,
Oh, no.
whoa, I gotta go. Too much damage. And you're like, but you were fine.
No. That hurt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So basically the way that the damage works is you mark damage, and then once you get enough damage on something, it dies. You check the toughness versus that marked damage. This lets you combine, like, you attack with a 3/3, I block with my 6/6, you lightning bolt my 6/6, it has 3 from the 3/3, 3 from the lightning bolt, 6 damage total marked.
Okay.
And then it dies. Godzilla changes that check to check against power instead of toughness.
Gotcha.
And like I said, 0 power creatures don't immediately die, but they die pretty quick if you have Godzilla out.
Gotcha.
And it's just your creatures, not your opponent's creatures. Be aware. Godzilla likes his friends and doesn't do anything about his enemies. He just doesn't care. Gigantha, the Wellspring. Gigantha is a legendary creature elemental elk. He's one of the companions. Companion. No card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its mana cost. Gigantha could be in your library, fine. Other things could have a 4, other things could have a red-green, but something that costs red-green, not allowed.
Oh, okay.
This is what I mean by this. I have to rethink this card every time I look at it.
Yeah.
It's not unique mana symbols between different cards. It's unique mana symbols on the same card.
Gotcha. So something couldn't cost red.
Yeah, red, not allowed. Red.
Oh, I
red
see.
and 1
Okay.
is okay.
Gotcha.
Red XX, not okay. X is the same symbol.
Great.
There's not a lot of things with XX in the cost.
Yeah.
But there's a few. Basically, it makes it very weird to build your library, and it will be super obvious anytime that you play a card with the same symbol on it.
Yeah.
So a hybrid mana symbol is not the same as a non-hybrid mana symbol. So if something is Maurice's Twin Claws, which costs a single green and then hybrid either red or white, and 2, that's fine. Splitting up hybrids, they haven't really done, but they could in theory do it.
Yeah.
But it's the base cost that's printed on the card. If you had a hybrid red-green, hybrid red-black, that's fine. Hybrid red-green and a single red, also fine. They're different symbols.
Okay.
Very strange. Gigantha has a second confusing ability.
Okay.
Which has a word that doesn't come up in cards much. Tap, add white, blue, black, red, green. This mana can't be spent to pay generic mana costs.
Yeah. All right.
A generic cost is any cost that is just a number in a circle.
Yeah.
So you can pay for Gigantha itself with not this, because Gigantha can only pay the colored symbols on Gigantha. Can't pay the other stuff. A lot of the times people will view that as this is a colorless cost. It's not a colorless cost. A colorless cost is the Awakening, that's on Kozilek or Thought-Knot Seer or whatever. Those are colorless costs. Those aren't generic. Generic costs can be paid with any type of mana except for Gigantha's mana. Gigantha doesn't do that. Gigantha wants to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck out of the Gigantha mana.
You can have any mana out here, but not Gigantha mana.
Yeah. You can't use Gigantha to pay for generic things. If you tap Gigantha for mana and try to cast another Gigantha, it doesn't work for you. You can pay for one symbol and then get like 4 colored mana left over. Weird magic card.
Yep.
He teaches you how the mana system works. The Ozolith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a legendary artifact. It costs 1 generic mana. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. This is a triggered ability. It actually technically copies the counters. It just puts some counters on itself. It doesn't remove them from the thing that died. So if your thing cared about the counters that it had, then it still counts them. So modular says when this died, it had a +1/+1 counter. Give that away to a friend. It still had that counter when it died. It'll give a modular counter out to a friend.
Okay.
The Ozolith applies on top of that.
Gotcha.
And then Ozolith says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. They get removed from the Ozolith, they get put on that thing. This is placing counters in the thing. If something like Hardened Scales sees +1/+1 counters added by the Ozolith, then it'll increase that number of counters by 1.
Sweet.
Because the counters are actually being taken off the Ozolith and put over there. It's just there's not a lot of room for all this explanation on the Ozolith or to make the template messier. Unpredictable Cyclone. This is an enchantment for red 3. If a cycling ability of another non-land card would cause you to draw a card, instead exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a card that shares a card type with the cycled card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then put the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, okay. Follow me on this journey.
Okay.
Instead of casting my spell, I cycle it.
Yeah.
I pay some mana, I discard it. Cycling activated ability goes to the stack, cycling activated ability resolves, and tries to make me draw a card. An Unpredictable Cyclone goes, hold the phone, you can't draw cards from cycling anymore. Instead, you're going to go find a friend that was the same type as what you cycle.
Gotcha.
Just flip cards off the top until you find something that matches type. If you cycle something that is a non-land and you hit a land that is also of that type, you can't do anything. So if you have a Darksteel Citadel in your library, which is an artifact land, and you cycle an artifact, and you hit Darksteel Citadel, Unpredictable Cyclone says you may cast the card. You can't cast Darksteel Citadel.
Because it's a land.
Yeah. Then it just gets shipped to the bottom of your library.
Rough for you, buddy.
Rough for you. It's really unusual. It comes up basically with Darksteel Citadel and Dryad Arbor, and like that's about what you got in same formats. So, but it is usually a mana advantage. Note that you won't be drawing a card. There's no card drawing involved. So if something tries to limit your card draws, like say Narset, the thing with Narset is she stops you from even trying to draw a card. So Narset versus Unpredictable Cyclone. If you draw a card for turn, then try to Unpredictable Cyclone with the Narset out, Narset stops you from even getting to the point where you draw a card. Narset just says, this isn't a replacement ability, it just changes the rules. You can't even try to draw a card. There's nothing to replace for Unpredictable Cyclone.
Hey, buddy, don't even try to draw a card.
Yeah. Narset, it might not make it into the top 5 design mistakes of 2019, is a design mistake.
Woof.
I have some spicy opinions about 2019.
We have spicy opinions about 2020.
2020 is the most complicated rule stuff, but It doesn't look like it has any Okos in it yet, so... But that just might be because every card has 90 words on it.
Also, Rob, the year is early.
It's true. Oh.
Is it? Are you sure 2020 hasn't already been 5 years long?
I mean, it's true. It's been 1 decade.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's been a hell of a week, and it's only Wednesday.
Yep.
You all remember the last Magic the Gathering World Championship that happened 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah, that was 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it was 20 years ago.
Yep. It's a dim and distant memory in our past. I wanted to talk about things that trigger from when you cycle stuff as well. So Escape Protocol, it's an enchantment, blue and 1. Whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1. When you do, exile target artifact or creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. I didn't really talk about flickering with Mutate. Wow. So you can flicker your own stuff that is mutated with Escape Protocol. When this triggers before the cycling card roll, as I tried to make clear, but I might have not been totally clear on in the cycling section. You cycle the card, put the activated ability in the stack. Escape Protocol's trigger goes in the stack above it. Targets a thing. You may pay 1. If you do, you exile it and bring it back. Yes. If it was a mutated stack of nonsense, it breaks apart into component creatures. Okay. Because it went to exile, and you can't have a mutated thing in exile. Gotcha. So it breaks into component creatures, and then it falls out of the battlefield with all the pieces.
I'm a mutated stack of nonsense.
You sent it into exile, and then like a hole opened up in the sky, and just the different things that you sent fall out separately.
Yeah, it starts raining kittens, and you're like, whatever.
Oh, fine. I did this.
Can I just bring something up because it's on Scryfall, it's near Escape Protocol, that we have Frost Links in this set, and I just want to ask you I don't know what kind of question this is, but Frost Links has appeared a number of times in Magic, and I'm just wondering, on any given plane, is it kind of like inevitable that a Frost Links will evolve?
So you're talking about how like the first thing that everybody invents is the Ornithopter, and the first, cat that evolves into an elemental thing would be the Frost Links?
Yeah, it kind of seems like it.
That's your theory?
Just like in Star Trek, how like most races they come across are humanoid, and they end up explaining that in Star Trek. My question is the Frost Links are they just evolving because that's just some kind of weird mathematical certainty that a Frost Links will evolve?
Yeah, convergent evolution on the Frost Links.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of why do humans exist on multiple planes kind of things too?
Yeah, I guess.
Like the universe probably shattered from one plane at one point, or there's some other hand wavium example of why do we find dinosaurs all over? Why did trees? Why trees?
Why do trees?
Yeah. Why do trees? Great question, everybody.
Okay, sorry, I derailed us.
No, it's good. That's my big stuff to hit. A lot of this is Mutate has so much rules complexity packed into it. The cards generally just do what they say unless they don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? I tried to cover the ones that lie to you about what they do. But a lot of the times you'll just randomly put a counter on a thing, or you'll shatter your otter into a pile of dinosaurs, or I don't know.
I'm just gonna shatter this otter into a pile of dinosaurs.
New goal, new Ikoria goal for sure.
Mm-hmm. Because this has been quite a dense episode, we're just gonna do a handful of questions.
Yeah.
Real quick, and then, we always mention, if you head on over to the YouTube video and ask questions there, you can also get them answered if we happen to not cover it.
Yeah.
Or if you had more
generally
questions.
check for about a week, but I got nothing better to do. Well, I do have a lot of stuff to do. I'm an essential person that's out working, but yeah, I'll check for a while after the YouTube video goes up for comments.
Okay, great. Yeah. What do you got, Megan?
Okay. How does Mutate work if the stack of creatures becomes a human through an effect like Conspiracy or an arcane adaptation? What if this happens by the top card flipping or morphing into a human? What if you make the target of a Mutate ability a human while it is still on the stack?
So the last one is simple. The ability makes the Mutate thing fall onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
The target's illegal. Just like if you give it Shroud or whatever.
Yeah.
It tries to resolve, and it says, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't get countered for not having a target.
Whoa.
That's not how I do. I'm going to fall onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
For the first half, doesn't matter. Mutate only cares at the time that you cast the spell and as it tries to resolve, whether or not the target's a human.
Great.
If it changes into a human later because you used a Meeboid Changeling to change it into all types, who cares? It's not a mutated human.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to do that, actually. So.
Great. Okay. If an opponent has animated a Planeswalker with Sarkhan the Masterless, and I flash in a Blitz Leech and remove all the counters from the Planeswalker, does it die immediately? If not, does it die on the next turn when it returns to being a Planeswalker?
It dies during the cleanup step when it returns to being a Planeswalker. So it's not the next turn. It dies this turn.
Yes.
Right after you discard for turn.
Gotcha.
Or as you're discarding for turn. And then there's probably a priority pass. So, yep, if you remove the counters from Sarkhan, as long as it's a creature with loyalty counters and not a Planeswalker, because Sarkhan stops it from being a Planeswalker.
Yeah. Then
it won't die from having no loyalty counters. This is also the mutate thing. You mutate into Godzilla. Oh, darn. Like, you have to kill it as a creature now. Fight me.
Yeah. Okay, so also, I feel like we covered this one, but if Anax is mutated as the bottom card, does the power equals devotion still affect the creature?
Isn't Anax a human?
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, no. He a demigod.
Oh, right. They did make them all demigods. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the power for Anax will override the power of the creature. The toughness for Anax will be whatever the top item is. So you could have like a star 7 or something if you've got a 7 toughness thing on the front.
Great.
Tarmogoyf overrides both sides, which is why Tarmogoyf kills both halves.
Got it.
So.
And they asked, do mutated cards on the bottom count towards devotion? We covered no.
Nope. The only thing that you get from mutate is the text box. That's the only thing that you get, but there's a lot of things with strange text boxes. So.
Oh boy.
Yikes, Areno. Okay.
Yeah.
This one is like, I think self-explanatory. When you name a card for spell or ability effect, can you use the Godzilla name, or do you have to use the Magic the Gathering name? You can like call them either as long as it's identifiable, right?
Yeah. As long as it's uniquely identifiable. I said that's the only thing. If you're searching on Magic Online or on Arena, you're going to see, I believe, assuming Arena doesn't try to put both names on there, you will only see the real name. The one that's in the small box center.
Great.
If you're in Paper Magic and you say, "Hey, I want to name, the Crystal Godzilla guy, the one that, he's got the big crystals on his shoulders and he has a flavor name, but I don't remember it offhand.
Yeah.
He costs 3 different colors of mana." And the judge comes over, it's like, "Yeah, that's the Crystalline Godzilla. It's the same as."
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like with anything else, if you can unambiguously identify it, then it counts as name.
Great. I feel pretty proud for the work that you do, because a lot of these questions that I'm seeing, like, we touched on.
Yep.
Which is very
Good job,
cool.
Rob.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Did we cover this Ozolith one? If I have Ozolith in play and a Hangerback Walker dies, do I get the Thopter and the counters put on Ozolith, or
Yes,
do I have
you
to
get
choose?
both.
You get both. Okay.
Yep.
Sick. Whew.
Yeah. It doesn't take the counters away. It just copies the counters onto itself, basically.
Yeah. A couple of people asked about, like, we covered this, but just like the making sure that people's decks like fulfill the companion.
It's not any different than the 4 of Limit.
Yeah.
Like,
and also they asked
if you're sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're sure that they broke it, if they cast a second copy of something when they have Lutra as their companion, call Judge.
Yeah.
Call the store owner over. Say, hey, they shouldn't be able to do this. If they already cast the Lutra, they will have one thing happen. The policy update has not been published yet, and I'm sure Toby has words on it, so I can't say for sure what's going to happen in the competitive event.
Yeah.
Guess what? Doesn't matter. In paper, we don't have tournaments right now. If you're gathering together with friends, you're doing it wrong. So
yeah.
Normally I'm all about getting together with friends. Right now, you do what we do and we'll be on the internet.
Don't do it.
Pictures of bears behind them and stuff.
Not until you're allowed to.
Yep. So policy questions that you're like, how do I stop my opponent from cheating? Well, We'll answer that in August.
Yeah.
Or whenever.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's not urgent.
Yes.
So the policy updates will come out at some point, and then we'll have guidance on it.
It is time, everyone, for the moment we all wait for with every new set with bated breath to name cutest and grossest card.
Yeah. I will say, I'll go first because, look, I know people aren't as excited for grossest card. It's just not as exciting. I understand. It's disgusting is what it is. And
What do you got?
Okay. First, I want to give a shout out to the Fiend one that we talked about. What's his name again?
Fiend Hunter?
Yes.
Was that it? No.
No. I'm talking about like the little spooky arms gentleman. And
Fiend Artisan.
Yes, Fiend Artisan.
He's got
not chill.
He's got bonus hugging arms.
No.
He can hug you even while he's hugging somebody else.
No, no one needs to be no one needs to be hugged. No one needs to be touched. Fiend Artisan can keep all of its spooky little legs away from me. But I have to give a shout out to my a fear that dates back to my childhood of leeches and Blitz Leech. Blitz Leech, no thank you. Get out of here. Good day. So long. Farewell. I'll be saying goodnight. Okay? Not here for it. Look at all those teeth.
Leech.
Look at its leech body. Not chill. Out. No. Get. No. Done. No. So that's grossest card.
Blitz Leech. Good call. Good call.
No. No. All right, Maria.
Okay.
I know that you had a lot of deliberation.
Let me tell you something. I take my cutest card duty very seriously, and this is by far and away the most difficult decision I've ever had to make in a Magic set. This is the cutest set that Wizards has ever printed, and you can take that to the bank. So I've got.
I think that the cuteness creep is really showing.
Yeah, it really is.
You've railed against this for years.
We don't talk about cuteness creep enough.
You know,
but it happens.
I talk a lot about being pandered to for cutest card, and I stand by that. So that's why Baby Godzilla isn't even on my list, because I will not be pandered to. But I do have a lot of other cute cards, which are just cute naturally and not shoved down my throat. So...
All right, let's hear what's cute naturally.
Okay, so these are all the runners-up, and we'll save the winner for the end. But there's a lot of runners-up. Runner-up number one, this is going in order, so this is almost pick, was Prickly Marmoset, which is a very cute little monkey with a porcupine back. Great little mustache on this monkey, A+ monkey. Runner-up. Congratulations. Another runner-up position goes to Essence Symbiote, which very easily could have won cutest card if it wasn't so angry in its art. You see the two little symbiotes behind it in the art? They are adorable. So if this Essence Symbiote was ever in a good mood, think about it, you might win cutest card. So... that's just something to keep in mind. Another cutest card runner-up. Congratulations to Zerda the Dawn Waker. This is a little fiery fox, and she is just beautiful.
I can't believe Zerda is this far down. Zerda is cute.
Zerda is cute, but I will also say that I think Zerda is beautiful. So, like, if you're beautiful, you just have a harder time being cute under my rules. So, you know. This one is also going to be a lot of contention why it's so far down the list, but it is on the list, and that is Kahira the Orphan Guard. And the reason is because we're looking at Kahira itself and not all the little orphans.
Yeah.
If this card was
Kahira
called...
is also beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. If it was called Kahira's Orphans and they were the main focus of the card, they might win because there's a bunch of adorable little orphans in this art. But as it stands, it is actually about Kahira, so you don't win. Also a runner-up is the Almighty Brushwag, which is a very cute little stick beast.
Very, very cute.
Who I just love, and of course a callback in Magic, so that gets it points as well.
23, 24 years?
Yeah, a long time.
Visions?
Another runner-up that I love here is the Flycatcher Giraffid, which should surprise no one that I think it's cute. It's got a long bug-catching tongue.
Yeah.
A long neck and some cute antlers.
All right, Maria.
What?
You are just going crazy with these honors. You're just handing them out willy-nilly.
How can I help it? There's so many. I didn't want to leave anyone out. I got two more. Offspring's Revenge. You're a cute cat. Get on the list. You're a runner-up. And of course, Colossification. You're also on the list. You're very cute, but the fact is you're also terrifying because you're a huge cat. So you can't win because you're cute, but you're too big to be that cute.
Wow.
So you're like, what's even left, Maria? You've named half of the set. What is Cutest Card?
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Unbreakable Bond?
Oh, no, it's not Unbreakable Bond. I want to take a look at that card, though. Hold on.
It's the cutest black card I've ever seen.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It is very cute. Okay, that also gets a runner-up.
Oh, that one is so cute.
It's like, what is that? Like a raccoon? Hugging a lady?
I don't know. It's some giant scaly puppy thing, and she's fixing its paw.
Oh, and it has a little
pretty
tongue
cute,
stick
Rob.
out.
Pretty cute, but I don't know if it can beat the cutest card.
What's the cutest card? We need to know.
All right, the cutest card from Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths is, drumroll please, Farfinder.
Farfinder. Let me look at this.
Farfinder.
Insulted that Thieving Otter is nowhere on this list.
Yeah, Thieving Otter's fine.
Sea Dasher Octopus?
How freaking dare you with that
They're
little
fine.
otter working so hard to steal that bow? I can't believe you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like that, I'm gonna get an artist proof of that. Put in my artist proof CDH deck along with probably Sea Dasher Octopus.
Yes,
like,
do you know what, Rob? That Sea Dasher Octopus also very cute.
Here's the thing. They're not on the list. What can I say? But
Maria, you better watch out. You're about to
She's
get
like, "I don't
violently
make the
overthrown
rules."
if you insist on maintaining this facade.
Farfinder, though, I think easily takes the crown.
Wow.
It is an adorable little fox with antlers. It is a fox with antlers, and it has little glowy bits flying off of it. Plus, Megan, you don't want to forget this. The cutest card of all time of the year in which it was printed was Skittering Surveyor. Not only because it was cute,
That's true.
because of its ability.
That's true.
And this is Skittering Surveyor's ability. So that's even extra cute because the card has a cute ability and it's cute. Double cuteness.
That's
Farfinder,
true.
your cutest card.
Well, everybody, that is our show this week. Oh my goodness. I don't know is that the first time that I've ever been the person to say that phrase?
Maybe. It might be. I don't know. We'd have to go back through the archives and search. Maybe somebody who's been listening to taking the GLH5 Everyday Challenge could tell us.
Wow. I feel like it might be. You almost always say that part.
I almost do always, but
Even as I felt the urge and was possessed to say it just now, I was like, this is very strange, but thank you. That's been our episode this week.
big, massive, enormous thanks to Judge Rob for coming on and giving us all of his know-how about Ikoria and all of the tricky stuff you might encounter while playing it at your release or pre-release this coming week. So thank you to Judge Rob. If you have more questions, remember to head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodluckhighfive. In the comments, I am hoping to get this video up by Wednesday, if not earlier, with all of the card images. So if you want to follow along like that, you can. You can ask Judge Rob a question in the comments and he'll stop by for about a week afterwards to answer your questions. That's just a service he offers for being an excellent judge and a person in this community. So go over there if you have more additional questions for a good friend, Judge Rob.
Yep. And, thank you. Thank you, everybody. As always, thank you to everyone who is a patron. Thank you to our really amazing family and sponsors over at Card Kingdom. Thank you for being here with us during this quarantine time. And hopefully you feel like we're there with you during this quarantine time. Because, boy, it's rough. And it's okay to be feeling rough about it.
That's right. And we're going to try our best to keep bringing some levity and some humor and some smiles to your life, to your magical life here through our two podcasts, The Upkeep and Good Luck High Five. And this week especially, we're going to be everywhere on the internet, so you can hang out with us on our stream for the early release on Wednesday. That's twitch.tv/GLHFmagic. You can also find us at the post pre-release with Loading Ready Run on Saturday. We're going to be closing out the day. So they're kicking things off early, I think at 9 a.m. Pacific. But Megan and I are the last two guests. So So if you want to check in later on the stream, like watch the whole thing, but we'll be at the end, just FYI. And have a lot of fun out there, everybody, playing, whether you're playing at home with some pre-release kits ordered from your LGS, or if you're heading on Arena or Magic Online, or if you're in Asia and you're actually playing with the cards in a store. However you play, best of luck out there. And please, everyone, continue to stay safe.
Yes, stay away from other people.